It was difficult when I packed it in. I knew I had to move away. It was a combination of all sorts of pressures, including pressures to resign from people in the diocese because they didn't like the kinds of things I was saying. They didn't like the book I wrote in 1999 called Godless Morality. There couldn't be a morality without God. And I wrote the book precisely because I thought that bringing God into moral debates didn't help, because people simply trump the arguments of others, because it's not a question of, why is this behavior wrong? Because God says it's wrong. Why does God say it's wrong? God says it's wrong because God says it's wrong. You don't get any real reasoned argument. So I wrote the book to try and offer a way of engaging these complex debates, and moral debate is very, very complex, and you can't be simplistic about it. But treating it on moral levels, treating it on a human level, why this particular conduct is detrimental to human good, and why maybe we misunderstand why a thing has been prohibited. The history of religion and morality is a history of things being outlawed and then gradually being included. For centuries, it was thought that God subordinated women to men. We had to change our mind about God, and the history of God is a history of constant change. Now, is God changing, or are we changing our mind about God? It could be either. But if God is what people say God is, then God can't change. God can't suddenly wake up one day and say, oh yeah, okay, let's bring women in. I forbade them before. Let's abolish slavery. I permitted it before. No, what's likely to be happening is that humans wrestling with these big issues are projecting their own disagreements onto this thing called God, and then it bounces back confirmation, because there's nothing more authenticating and solidifying for a moral opinion if you think God has said it. And I said, let's get all that out of the way, and let's look at these issues because they're important to us and decide them on good human grounds. And if there is that mystery called God, if we try to do good, then surely if God is good, then we'll be doing God's will. So let's park God and deal with the issues. But it infuriated a lot of people. Philosophers liked the book, bishops hated it. It was pronounced against by the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Archbishop of Southeast Asia refused to come to a meeting in Dundee that I was hosting because Scotland was now a heretical province, he said, and I was the arch-heretic. And then a bunch of my own clergy. I woke up one Monday morning and I was on the front page of the Scotsman. They declared the Diocese of Edinburgh vacant because I was now an unbeliever. So I decided enough was enough. I disappointed too many people. I was doing all this public stuff, arguing in public, all of these things. They needed a break. I needed a break. So I resigned and went. And I left the church for quite a few years. I walked. I helped here and there a bit, but I needed a sabbatical. I needed to get away from it all. And then I started coming back into Old St. Paul's, this building, which is very important to me because it's a sorrowing building. It seems to capture something of the complexity of being human. We're a mixture of joy and sorrow, sadness and longing, and this strange old building, to me, captures that. So I gradually came back, and where I am now is I think of myself as an unbelieving Christian. I believe in Jesus in the sense that I think that Jesus said enduring the important things. And most of them actually challenge the big battalions, including the ecclesiastical and religious battalions. He warned how power oppresses the small people. But it's the church that keeps the memory of Jesus. So this big, compromised, flawed, corrupt body has one thing going for it. It's in church that you hear Jesus' words. The words excoriating big, corrupt institutions. It's one of those great mysteries. And if you want, in a sense, to be in touch with all of that, church is a good place to do it. You meet people you wouldn't otherwise meet. You think about people other than yourself, the state of the world. You come together, you hear great music, wonderful stories, you look at beauty, and we are a mystery to ourselves. I mean, where did we come from? Where are we going? Does it mean anything? Will it one day just fold up like a tent and be over and have meant nothing? Possibly the universe might just, we know we're going to be frizzled by the sun in about 50 billion years' time. Will everything have been meaningless? All the poetry, all the art, the music, the kindness, the acts of charity, they'll all be obliterated. There'll be nothing, no memory of it. Will it have meant nothing? I don't know. But it is extraordinary to me that it has happened, that in us, we've invented compassion. We've written sonnets. We've written love letters. We've created enormous beauty as well as a lot of evil. We've done terrible things to this planet, but we've also graced this planet with cathedrals, with magnificent buildings. Who are we? Does it ultimately mean? I don't know. But there's a strange sense in which there's something going on. And spiritual institutions keep that opening for us. And I don't want them closed down. I want them humble. I don't want them bullying people and abusing people and saying what they have to believe and what's wrong to believe. But I do want them as spaces where people can sit and listen and think and be open to this extraordinary mystery that life is. So I'm back in that weird sense, but I certainly wouldn't qualify for any office in the church now. I preach occasionally. I think Christian doctrine is poetry, not fact. It's metaphor, it's myth. It carries great meaning, but all the really important things are carried in stories anyway. I mean, facts change, but great art doesn't in that sense. So I sit over there on the side, and I'm kind of on the side, on the edge. There's a poem by Edwin Muir, 1 foot in Eden, and I've got 1 foot in Eden and 1 foot in, I wouldn't say hell, but in another place. And it's comfortably uncomfortable. And I'll stay there.